So I actually have two spaces in New Art City. I guess I'll start with my personal project and then the community-based one. So I go by artist name Portrait XO. I've been researching human-machine collaboration, specifically with AI, a lot over the last few years. Starting with collaboration with CJ from Dadabots, who started me on this whole journey with neural synthesis. And he's just been such a profound impact on helping me rethink the way we can use AI tools in just such fascinating and inspiring ways. And what I really appreciate about his approach is that because he's also a musician himself, when he builds these algorithms, he has a lot of this sensitivity in mind when he, is creating these like custom AI models of like, how can these models help push creativity? How can they help artists break out of whatever it is that we thought about ourselves? Like if you were to use your own data set, of music that you've been making, and just that journey's been really, really amazing. So I'm really grateful for him. And so the space I built, the Portrait Expo world, is kind of where I decided to put all this research material that I was doing over the last few years. It's not all of it, but it's just like little bits, and it's an evolving space. I haven't visited it in a while just because I've been so busy, but I'm hoping to update the space a bit more with some more updated things that I've been experimenting with. And you also helped build the little home, the spaceships looking home in the middle, which was so cool. And it's the first time I got to put my avatar in space too. So yeah. And people can just like, I guess, explore the space and learn about other artists I've collaborated with as well. So there's all kinds of different people who I had the pleasure of co-creating and experimenting. I guess that's been like the fun part, is every collaboration I've done so far, there's been some form of experimentation with a new piece of technology that I've never used. And so it was like a really lovely way to, I guess, stay curious and continue to learn about, yeah, all these new and interesting ways of staying creative. The second space, Sound
Let's just
Obsessed.
stick with, I don't think we have time to do both simultaneously. So let's stick with
Okay,
your personal space for now, and we could maybe book time to do the other one. Because I mean, group
okay.
shows especially, I think that'll take a full hour.
Yeah. Okay, sounds like a plan.
Um, so you touched a little bit on your process for making the piece. Is there anything else that you want to speak to about that? And it seems like, container for experimentation. Maybe we'll see more when we go in.
Yeah, I guess it was really great to play within the context of New Art City as well, because oh, excuse me, I'm just gonna take a sip. I feel like I have like I just had dinner, so maybe I put too many spices in my salad. Um yeah, so working in New Art City was really, really awesome, because it was at the beginning when I started to explore Blender, and I'm not incredible at 3D art, but I love that you can do that now, and you can put it into these spaces, and you can just invite people to experience your art in new ways. And so that was really fun. Especially there's like these 3D sculptures that Ivy made that are AI generated, and the whole process of his method of like using Blender and AI together was really interesting. So yeah, it's maybe on the surface level, it's the space is a little, I don't know. I tried my best to go as detailed as I possibly could at the time. And there's a lot of information that is not there, but I guess my hope is that as I continue to like evolve as an artist, I can go back every now and then, update it with a bit more information and stuff. But it was a really great starting point for me because also like this idea of putting your work in 3D, what was nice was I didn't have to think linearly, you know? Because also creative inspiration doesn't happen like that. So that was really cool. I felt a lot more free to put my work in that context because the format was just like here, there, wherever you want to put it. So you can just put like ideas. And I guess, yeah, life is a lot like that though, isn't it? Like sometimes we'll get an idea and it's like over there and then
Mhm.
some over there. And maybe that's like the past and that's like 3 months later, but you can put it in 3D space to like, you know,
I
design it
really
however.
do. I certainly do.
But
Um,
yeah, it's and it's been so amazing to see all the other installations and the virtual exhibitions that people created in New Art City. It's just like amazing.
it's really special. And remind me, when did you make this piece?
So, oh my gosh, was it last year or the year before? Can't remember now. Like concept of time is really, it's funky.
Non-linear.
Uh, I think it was 2021. No, okay, yeah, it was 2021 because, oh wait, no, was it 2022? I can't remember now. I have to go back to it and find out.
And so you mentioned that like it's been kind of like a process where it didn't really have like a set end, but you mentioned it's been like a while since you returned to the space. Did you go check on it before we talked?
I haven't. I saw it on the main page because I do like to look at New Art City every now and then just to see any new exhibitions or, you know, other stuff that people have put out there. I didn't get a chance to look at it since I don't know, ages. It's been so long. Um yeah. It's due for a visit. It's due for a visit and it's due for a little upgrade.
I mean, it's special that I get to kind of like witness you returning to it. So was this the first time or was New Art City the first time that you showed in a 3D virtual space?
Yeah, yeah. I remember being introduced to Mozilla Hubs shortly before New Art City, but I think what made New Art City so special to me was the community of artists that were all part of it. And Discord community was just so amazing. And the kind of artists that are part of it is what was really cool. And just, you know, working really closely with you and Dawn and Ben and just exploring new ideas like, oh, can we make it so that we can fly? Um and adding, I don't know if MIDI controllers ever got integrated. Do you remember we had that conversation a couple of years ago?
They haven't, but I had forgotten that that would even be possible. But yeah, like MIDI is a thing. I would love to be able to use my like MIDI controller to like change the position of things.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, and then, you know, witnessing Dawn put events. I don't know if you've been part of those events where he had some of the new Art City spaces as backdrops for live shows and people could navigate through the sites as well during the sets and stuff. So, you know, just seeing how you can like repurpose a virtual space like that for live events, I thought was really cool. And I think it's nice to continue to have spaces where you can be very explorative and experimental and yeah, keep your inspiration going.
Definitely. Um, so I guess you made this probably closer to the height of the pandemic, but it's like New Art City has become kind of this like archive of work that's responding directly or indirectly to these like feelings of isolation. And it's also interesting how it's like this codex of people who are experimenting with all of these new technologies. Like the story of using New Art City as a repository for all these interdisciplinary experiments is like a really, really common one. And I'm really curious, like, what was your practice like before the pandemic?
I guess it was primarily focused on music with visuals as a secondary medium. And and over time they become more intertwined. Like sometimes I don't know what comes first. And I'm really happy that I can have both elements work like holistically in this way. Because I guess as a musician, having strong visuals that enhance my music has always been like a really strong component that I love to explore. And so, oh my gosh, wow, yeah, New York City started in the pandemic, which was such a saving grace, honestly. Like, I mean, I stuck it out for 2 dark winters in Berlin throughout the pandemic, and they were like seriously really dark. Um, and so I remember the very, very first New York City Festival that happened, knee deep in pandemic, dark Berlin winter. This was like the best thing that could happen at the time, you know? Um, it gave a sense of community during a time when I mean, every part of the world handled the pandemic differently, but in Berlin, it was really hard to see people. There were so many restrictions, everything was shut. And so it was so lovely to have a space where I could go and just, you know, even if I'm not feeling super interactive, just passively engage in the community that you all built. And just, you know, these conversations of how artists were also using this tough time to try to transmute the challenges that we were going through was so helpful. And that's when I remember I spent some time making donuts. Do you remember the donut tutorials for
Oh
Blender?
yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there were some great things that came out of the pandemic. A lot of digital art. I guess that was a big change for me, was like the kind of work that I ended up doing were all digitized, like even more than I was before. Everything from like visual art to I mean, the music side of things I've always been producing in a similar way. But I guess it also meant, because I had so much time, I got to do a lot of interesting AI experiments, to some more audio training, visual training. So yeah, there was a lot of digital based work. And while that was great to keep busy, and you know, to not just only think about the pandemic, was a really, really great outlet. At the same time, I do remember once things started to open up again, the last thing I wanted to do was spend hours on end in front of my laptop. I still spend a lot of time in front of a computer and doing a lot of work here. But now I guess that because things are open, what I've been questioning every time there are real life events is like, okay, we made all this like really great virtual stuff, this digital art. How can we bring that culture into physical spaces? And so I think it's great that, like, you know, virtual exhibitions are a thing, like because of the Web3 movement, having galleries showcase digital art has been like expanding, which is nice. So, you know, it doesn't just like be like death to digital art. It was only here for this time. I mean, it's not like I don't think that would happen, but it's just nice to see that that is translating into the physical world through exhibitions, and people are refabricating or repurposing the stuff that they created during the pandemic in fun ways for people to experience in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I think hybrid really is the vibe that like there are a lot of things that like happened as a result of these constraints, and then sort of bringing virtual into physical and physical into virtual is I think that's kind of the thing to do these days. And you touched on this a little just now, but I'm really curious how you approach like archiving in your own work. Like, how do you deal with the things that you've made in the past? How do you like return to them?
Oh my gosh. I'm constantly asking myself this also because there's so much stuff, there's so much material, there's so much data. And so lately I've been looking at different solutions where I can just have everything in a centralized place. I have so many hard drives. And so that is a question that I'm trying to figure out. What is the best way to store all my information in one place so I don't have like multiple hard drives everywhere? What is more sustainable? Is it better to have like unlimited storage on cloud versus having to buy a billion hard drives? I don't know. But yeah, for the most part, I guess I try my best to stay organized in the way I archive all my work. It's not perfect, but also because the amount of stuff that I work on, and I'm usually juggling so many projects, sometimes I forget that I've even worked on something, until open up my hard drive and I'm looking for something, and then like during my scrolling, I stumble on something like, oh yeah, I forgot I worked on that last year. What's your archiving like? Are you super organized?
Uh, well, I mean, I think this is always a really evocative question about like how people, because I think it speaks to how people approach time and also like how they view sort of individual artifacts in their work. Um, I'm in an ongoing process of getting and being organized, but like returning to old work and recycling it into new pieces is a big part of my process, I think. And it's like I think a lot about how like a digital artist produces a gargantuan amount of images and deciding like, images in an expansive sense, like, and then like deciding sort of what goes into the world. That is curation, right? That you have to be able to curate your own work because there's simply too much. Um,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, I think about this so often. Like, I don't know how many humans are actually aware of how much data they all consume per day and also produce. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm in the process of transferring 512 gigabytes of photos and videos that I have taken over the last couple years. What the hell is on this 512 gigabytes? I don't remember all of it, but it's like,
yeah, I mean, I think I've probably made something like 200 or 300 gigabytes of 3D models at least in the last 2 years.
oh, wow, you've been busy. That's
Yeah, it's funny.
amazing.
So that was my last question in the interview portion. I am going to go grab my water bottle real quick, and then we can do the share screen. Will you just pop the link to your space in the chat for me?
Yeah.
Okay, be right back. Bang.
Wait, how come I can't? That's so weird. It doesn't show dashboard. How strange. Uh, wow.
So the
Okay.
first, what I'll have
Weird.
you do, I'm just pasting the catalog link into the chat so you can see the exhibition description. I'm going to have you start just by reading that into the record, and then I will go into the
Mhm.
space and fill in visual descriptions for you and give you a chance to speak to the work.
Okay. So the title of my AI audiovisual album is named after the process that was born out of the experiments that happened during co-creation with raw audio, AI generated audio of my voice, in collaboration with Dadabots. 1 hour of my recorded singing vocals were trained on their custom SampleRNN model for 2.5 days. I generated 10 hours of new audio, expecting the unexpected. I went sound hunting for lyrics, melodies, and interesting sounds. And the little underscore dashes are symbolic for the AI generated audio that sounded like Sittin on A, which was what gave birth to the name of the album. And that was like the beginning of my journey of co-writing lyrics and melodies with these outputs. Space curation and design and AI audio visuals, songs written, produced, and performed by me, album mixed and mastered by Michele Balduzzi, featuring, so these are all the people I got to collaborate with: Camila Roriz, Cibelle, Cavalli, Bastos, Dadabots, Harriet Davy, Ivy, Levesque, Sammy Veer, and then I've also listed special thanks to Factory Berlin, Music Board Berlin, and Sonar Plus D, and Open Source Culture, who've been very helpful for my whole journey of these explorations.
Thank you for that. So when we materialize, we see this kind of foggy, undulating sphere background that has kind of an aurora borealis feel to it, and some lights are flashing across the scene. There's this wavy, low poly, or it's like a low poly wave with a bunch of like triangles missing, kind of running through the scene. There is a blue-green blob in the center with some text written on it, and there are a bunch of floating spheres rotating around and other sculptures off in the distance. And you can see this kind of metallic drippy text that says wire. Now this text says, "Welcome to my new home. As an independent researcher and artist, I'll be using this space to share my experiments and unfold my debut AI AV album, Wire." Ooh, what's the deal with those underscores? Are those, because I see there are like, is this like invisible text or something?
Where?
The underscores in Wire, is there sort of a stylistic reason for those underscores?
Oh yeah, so it's kind of like the art direction I decided to help portray this game of fill in the blank that ended up happening with the whole songwriting process. Because every song and every title of the album is named after the AI generated audio that sang these lyrics and melodies that I've never sung before. And so like Sittin on A, so those blank spaces are supposed to symbolize Sittin on A, which was the generated audio. And then Wire was the part that I filled in the rest, because it was like, oh, what does this whole process feel like? And it literally felt like just listening to this whole sea of crazy amounts of audio and trying to like wire bits together that, made a compositional sense of some kind. And yeah, so that's what that is.
I love that. I'm so glad I asked. So this album is an exploration of how far I can go with sounds and storytelling in latent space. As each song is released, I'll be playing with spatial audio in this space. So I need to share audio on the screen share. Oh, I'm not even screen sharing, haha. So
I'm
now,
glad you're doing this and not internet is not so great at the moment.
yeah, I mean, my internet is very good, so it's very crispy on my end. So the recording should come out quite well.
Wow.
So I'm going inside of this blob. It looks really cool. Now, where should I go to next? Ooh, I see you in here.
Yeah, let's go to Nomi's home, the spaceship kind of a home that you built.
So I can really speak to this one. This is a shape that I made that I put in my shape garden. And there's this bulbous shape on the top. It's like a squashed sphere, and there are a bunch of panels that are like amber glass, and it's kind of metallic looking, and it's very, yeah, spaceship like. There's a triangular truss door into the space, and there's a little like glass balcony, and it's up on these concrete stilts.
It's so amazing. I remember when I first saw this in the space, I was like, I want my home like this. It's so beautiful. I love the windows also that you created. Like the details of this space is so amazing. I love it. So yeah, I felt like this specific design made so much sense to put my early works, my I guess one of my early experiments with visuals, and this is when I was playing with Artbreeder a lot. And I was speaking with Joel Simons, who started Artbreeder, and I was asking all kinds of questions like, what is latent space? What happens when you put an image of your face up in the space? And so yeah, that was like a really interesting first impression for me to understand what happens. And the idea that you put an image up that gets put into this, like, I don't know, this box of all the other images that have been uploaded by the entire community, and then the output of your image is you also then being compared to everything else that exists in this box, and then pushing it out as like the most, I guess, relevant points that are similar to the input. And so I just found that so interesting. And I remember like the visual input, the visual output that I saw, it didn't like it couldn't identify with my green lipstick. That's because no one else had green lipstick in the data set. So it turned my lips purple. And then at some point, it like kept the green. I don't know if it's because just having that first impression meant that the second time I uploaded it, it like kept the green color. But yeah, just these things were interesting. And like this whole website was just so fascinating how then it'll let you know if, say you decide to upload a photo and you allow it to be public, other people can use it and they could like create a different iteration of it. And so you see these like, it's like a tree of different ways that people have taken your image and then created other image, and then it just keeps going. It's like this weird but like beautiful mess of community-based art. And I just thought this was such a great project. And
Really fascinating. Let me fill in a little visual description. Inside, we're looking at, there's a rotating video that morphs between Rania's face and an AI generated face, and glitchy text over it says, glitches are beautiful, identities are meaningless. And then there are 3 panels of video in the background of these like short little GIFs of these like family trees of Artbreeder generations kind of scrolling around. It's cool that you can kind of see your like mouse movement scrolling up and down. And above that is the text saying, what does it mean to be human in a data-driven society? It's funny, the people I was talking to before I was talking to you were also showing a bunch of Artbreeder experiments.
nice. I mean, I think this is like the really great aspect of having tools like this, right? Where we can dive a little bit deeper about what data means to us. And like, we were just talking about how do we archive our data? What do we do with everything that we create digitally? And I know that we're in this era where AI is such a hot topic because of the crazy explosion of open source community opening up open source code, right? Where we can create interesting art, music, and we're having like these huge conversations globally about what AI is and what's the ethical use of it, what's not ethical, all these things that if we zoom out even further, it's like, well, this technology's been around since the 60s. It's not like just happening all of a sudden now. It's been there. The main difference is that it's on this global level of conversation, because only until recently, before open source culture decided to open up all these ways that people can create with, AI was hidden away behind the doors of corporates. And, they don't always, this stuff was just not openly transparent and talked about, because it was just, yeah, that's just what it was. And so now we have all these interesting expressions that we can that are helping us understand a little bit more of like the behavioral side of it. And these are all conversations we should be having anyway. It's just so wild, because when I think back several years ago, before this whole creative AI boom happened, I remember the first time I noticed like ads following me around, when like you're looking for something online, and then you go onto another site, and then you see this ad follow you around. You're like, what? And I was always aware of these things, and those are uses of AI, right? Like,
Absolutely. It's like big data was already happening, or it's like AI's primary use case is surveillance. It's only recently we've been like there's been kind of like a popular explosion of it. But like, damn, I was making art with AI in 2017. I
wow.
want to talk
Oh my
about
gosh, I would
this.
love to see.
Well, this is text-based. We're here to talk about your art, and I want to talk about this cool avatar character with the green hair and kind of purple skin, this really sick, like kind of like Victorian dress thingy with these pointed up shoulders and this like red and purple paint splotch on it. Tell me about Nomi.
Yeah. Did you see Nomi's shoes? Nomi has special shoes also for perching. It's quite pointy on the
Oh
edges.
yeah.
Um, so Nomi was first created from Ready Player Me, and it was so great because you upload a picture of your face, and then it generates this avatar with a face that looks as similar to you as possible. I thought it did a pretty good job. I then imported it into Blender to build a different outfit, and I integrated some of the AI generative visuals for the skin as well as the outfit. And so Nomi is kind of like, I guess, an abstraction derived from all of the AI experiments I've been doing. And so there's like this text-to-speech synthesis model that Birds on Mars created of my talking voice. And so I've been dreaming of one day, hopefully Noma can come to life and like be a moving avatar, and integrate ChatGPT, and um yeah, there's like some short film ideas I've been working on. But yeah, Nomi's basically a hybrid AI avatar that is born from latent space, I guess. And Nomi's very curious about humanity, and it has endless questions. It doesn't really have so many answers, but it has a lot of questions. And I've had I did a podcast interview for Halloween last year, and that was the first time I used Nomi as this like second entity who would answer questions like what is artificial intelligence. And so yeah, it's been nice to just like have this other entity kind of represent all of the AI work I've been doing. And I guess I've been trying to figure out like how do I channel all of that stuff into some kind of visual identity. And so that's what Nomi is.
That's really, I'm really glad I asked. It's so cool to see how like each of these pieces is like an experiment. I want to double check that I'm sharing audio. I think that I am, but I would be annoyed if I'm not because audio is a part of your thing. Okay, yeah, I'm sharing sound. Great. So where should we go next?
So maybe we can go and visit Ivy's 3D sculptures. I think if you go down, oh, actually, let's go up because there's I just remembered that
There's a
funny
video
thing.
inset in like a bubblegum blob of Nomi, and then there's another person who's bald with like black reflective skin and kind of like fiery lava texture on like torso and a little bit on the legs, laying on this spiky uh like purple stroke. Well, there's a spike coming up on the top of it, but it's kind of like a partially winged structure, and it's facing Nomi's video, and they're rotating together around a central point.
Yeah, so this is like one of the short film or one aspect of the short film that I've been toying around with in my head is so the little creature that you see on the floaty purple thing is like another Nomi. Um and
A
and
digital
I guess
twin for your digital twin.
yeah, and it's like there's a present Nomi speaking to the future Nomi, and there's a conversation that is happening between them that was born out of like, do you remember there was this experiment that happened when they had like two AIs talking to each other, and then
Yeah.
they had to shut them down because they started like speaking in their own language that no one could understand, and the behavior that they were witnessing was like super creepy, and so because they didn't understand, like no human could understand what was happening, it freaked them out, and so they just shut it down.
That's wild. I did not hear about that.
Yeah, I need to find the article, but I just thought it was so bizarre. Um, but anyway, these are just more, I guess, abstractions, ideas that were born out of like playing around with latent space, and how working with AI presents these interesting ways how we can reflect on present and future. Um, Especially with the way AI is moving at like this crazy exponential speed. And I don't know, I guess I'm always contemplating a lot on where is this all going? And um I feel like when we look into the future and try to imagine what is going to happen in relation to like what's happening now, considering like tomorrow we wake up and we scroll through Twitter and there's like hundreds of new impressions of whatever new AI experiment someone's doing with GPT-4, like creating a sketch and then uploading it and then having AI generate an actual app for you with buttons and everything. Is just like
Yeah,
it's
writing a bash
really,
script.
yeah, it's so crazy. So yeah, I guess this piece is like just a contemplation on that, of like the weirdness of what's happening. Oh, this is my semicolon sculpture.
Ah, I was wondering what that shape was because it's these like dark metallic, really like I mean, it's pretty detailed, or it has lots of polygons and it's very like crumply, but I'm glad to know that it's a semicolon.
Do you want to know the story about the semicolon?
Always.
So, I don't even remember why I Googled semicolon, but there's a grammar, grammatical, is that right? I'm having a
Yeah.
brain fart. There's a grammatical definition of what semicolon means, which is like when an author decides to not finish a sentence but have it continue on, like not end the story but continue on. And then I found at the same time there was something called a semicolon movement, and there's like this whole thing that I found about people getting tattoos of semicolons, that was linked to, oh gosh, because I haven't looked this up in a while, but it's linked to this nonprofit about helping people with mental health challenges related to suicide. And I think there was like, it was born from based on this one person who was who sadly passed away. And it was just such a weird coincidence because this was also during pandemic. And I was just drawn to the idea of getting a semicolon tattoo before I found out the meaning. And when I did find out the meaning, it just meant even more because what it stands for is something that resonated with me a lot. And so a lot of people get these semicolon tattoos to basically celebrate and as like an affirmation and solidarity with people who have dealt with suicide, depression, addiction.
Like choosing not to end the sentence.
Yeah, and choosing to continue on despite the difficulty. Because I guess, you know, we all go through periods where it's like mentally really, really hard. And so I was just really touched by this whole movement that happened. And I'll try to find the website for the foundation. And also it's like, oh, the story of the person who sadly didn't like her mental health deteriorated over time. So sadly, she actually ended up taking her life. But her story continues, and in a communal way where people have just like decided to, because she was trying her best by creating this community and trying to do what she could at the time to not only help herself but others. And so yeah, that's what this 3D sculpture is for.
Thank you. Now, where should we go to next? I'm like zooming out. We have these like unshaded cylindrical sculptures where like there are a bunch of different like vertical layers and different widths that have, they look kind of like candelabras. There are like a couple of those, and I see a couple of
Yeah, let's go straight
unshaded
ahead.
swirly ones that are they're like squeezing in on themselves and then like moving back out. They're kind of almost like they're breathing. These are like very
So
smooth.
okay, you know what you're in right now is a ginormous version of one of those.
Ah,
So that's why there's like also in the background, there's this thing that's like constantly pulsing. So these 3D objects, those spirals are designed by Harriet Davey. And we met during an artist residency in Berlin. And I remember when she created these, that was also when I had just finished making the album. And I was like, okay, the AI generated audio of my project needs something, like something visual, a visual representation. And she wasn't designing these with my project in mind at all. But when she started showing this work that she had made, I asked if I could connect it to my work because it was really I just love how she creates. I mean, she does so many different kinds of 3D work, and her avatars are just so incredible. But I just love like this weird organic but kind of alien structure. And that's very much how I felt about a lot of this AI generated audio that I was working with. That is one of the artworks from the album. So all those little blank spaces are just representative of all the weird glitchy AI audio.
yeah, like in the background we have this like iridescent shape that looks very, very GAN-like. There's some like gold swaths in there, and it's somewhat mirrored. It almost looks like an old urn with the two loops around the rim, and then overlaid on that are a bunch of green boxes that have the fill in the blank on them.
Yeah. Yeah, so that urn is one of the still images of the audiovisual piece.
So it is an urn.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
doing
it
visual
looks
description where sometimes I'm just completely off base of what the intention was, but it's always a treat to be like, oh, okay, that is what that's supposed to be.
no, I'm actually really happy that you said earn because I used a pre-trained data set of vases, but I was actually happy that the visual output was like these morphing visuals that went from vase to urn. And I don't know, I guess in the data set there had to be some urns as well as vases. I don't know.
Sort of an
But
ambiguous word, yeah.
yeah, and I guess like I picked this data set to create these visuals with the music because I'm always contemplating as well when we use machine learning, any piece of technology, like that are very much pushing us to evolve. I always question how is it helping us evolve and how are they making us devolve? Like um it's just an ongoing contemplation. Everything from like environmental impact to does it help me as an artist, as a human? Is it pushing my creative boundaries in a positive way? I mean, so far it's been inspiring and that's why I'm obsessed with working with AI tools. But yeah, I guess this is also what we're all questioning as well. The societal impact and yeah. It's interesting though. It's hard to not have really philosophical conversations about AI. I guess you can have philosophical conversations about other approaches, but it's interesting when you speak with anybody else who's using these tools, you end up going down a very deep philosophical conversation about what this all means.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying listening to the music also.
Yeah.
Where to next?
So that I'll just quickly explain those plate-like looking sculptures. There's a
Mm-hmm.
few of them, and those are designed by Ivy. And oh gosh, I don't remember his exact process. Maybe if you click on one, it'll explain because I think I took the text from him. But those are audio to 3D sculptures
Oh,
of
so it's a waveform.
mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, I did not clock that. And they're slowly rotating. I'm not seeing
Yeah.
the text on these. Is there another one that
I think if you click on one of them has to have, there's like, yeah, that one to the right. Does that have any text on it when you click?
how we can grow 3D models in a computational environment? So those models resemble hand, skull, brain, but they do not look exactly like them. Rather, they were grown to look more organic. But my guess
These
with
are,
waveforms is you take a line, or you turn a waveform into a line, and then you put that in Blender and you put a twist modifier on it, so it spins around in a circle and then draws the rest of the shape. Or at least that's how I would do it.
oh, okay, maybe that's how it happened. I thought it was really, yeah, I mean, I've never seen it be, like take audio information, be translated into 3D like this. I love how they look like spinning plates.
Yeah, yeah, they really do. That's better than my visual description, I think.
I would love to have it actually like as 3D printed sculptures or something.
This would be reasonably easy to print, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I see
But
some Sonia
yeah,
Levesque in here.
yeah, I was just gonna quickly note the description that was read was actually with the about the other 3D. So that there is one of the pieces. I think that's the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Or this one
so
says
that
skull.
yeah, oh this is a skull. But so yeah, the this is like a whole series, the cellular growth automate automaton series. Um
See the brain above it, and it looks kind of like a trilobite or like a croissant.
Yeah, I just thought these are so cool. And Ivy is he's got a full scholarship studying at Tufts University now. And I'm so curious and excited to see what his future is going to be like, because he's so young and
Oh,
he was doing all these experiments in high school. Like I was really I was like floored just to, 'cause I think when we first met, we connected on Instagram and I loved his experiments that he was putting out. Um, and then shortly after I learned how young he was, and it was like, wow, your future is going to be very exciting.
oh.
Um, but yeah, so he's studying computer science and fine art, and such a cool combination.
Incredible. Yeah, so we have this big kind of skull shape. Both of these are also unshaded, or they're like a white texture. Um,
Mm.
and this really does kind of look like unusual bone growth. It's like I don't, and it on the inside it kind of looks like it's like stitched together similar to the way that like a real skull is. And above that there's this tiny brain shape, and above that there's this tiny shape that says noxious bloom, and it's green and shardy. It's got some kind of wing characteristics to it, but it's pretty abstract. And then there is another avatar riding it with this like very cool blue kind of rocky, papery texture.
Yeah, that's another AI generated visual that's been fabricated for the avatar. So I remember reading about, so if you read the text, this is actually a real, it's a factual information,
In healthy
at least.
proportions, algae is referred to as golden forest to feed ocean creatures to live. There's an overabundance of macroalgae on the coastlines of Caribbean Mexico called sargassum, known to be the world's largest algae bloom. Maybe biochemical engineers who pioneered a salt-based conversion method to help turn sargassum into biofuel this year will help put the oversupply of algae to good use. Born today from the present and future, A was discovered sunbathing on this uncomfortable seat of half-truths while gazing for sugar. Oh, that's so beautiful.
So yeah, it's so I just thought that was so wild. Like one of my friends from Mexico told me about this, about the overabundance of algae. And there's parts of the world where people can't go swimming, where they used to be able to. So it's just, yeah, I mean, there's always some kind of like crazy weird thing that's happening due to like, I don't know, climate crisis and just unexpected natural things, right? And this is one of the things that I remember reading about, thinking, wow, that's so wild. Life
Yeah, I
is
mean, it's
just,
really cool to see the pipeline from like you observing the world to you like processing it with AI. And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, like talking to you about it here is bringing it into a lot of like coherence. So now let's go back over to Sonia's video, I think. Ooh, this is a very interesting shape up here. It's a lot of blues with some greens. It's mirrored. The bottom part looks a lot like a pelvis, I think. But it
Mm.
has this protuberance in the front that goes into kind of a second pelvic shape, and then it has um, like a long neck with like a bill on the top that gives it's almost like a goose maybe.
It's yeah, I guess it does have like a very bird like reference. Have you used this app called Nomad?
No, is that like an iPad app?
I think it's on iPad as well as iPhone. I don't have an iPad. I have an iPhone 12. So I've been loving Nomad for 3D sculptures because like just being able to use your touch screen to sculpt
Hmm.
is really fun. And so while I still love Blender for refining, it's just so nice to have with me when, especially I'm traveling, and I tend to do 3D art while I'm traveling, like on long train journeys and flights and stuff.
I guess it's fitting that it's called Nomad. Um, and so beneath this sculpture are two cube videos that are very like black and white and glitchy. Part of them are static. It looks kind of, I think it's a spectrogram, right? And then on the right side, you have
Yeah.
these grayscale bars like moving up and down between like through each other.
Yeah, so this is Sonia's work. I think if you click on it, there should be some more description.
Black on white,
Oh, wait, hold on. Do I have?
Jung.
Okay. She might have removed the description. But yeah, she was a collaborator in this space. And she created a series of different audio visuals based on my music. So if we turn to one of our other pieces, I think let me see, we will pass. Ah, there we go. Down there, there's another cube.
And this one is in a lot of like blue. It's sort of moving through the rainbow from green to blue to purple to red to green again, and it has these like barred out glitchy lines going through it.
Do we have a description for this, or is that also okay? I think she might have removed them. If I can pull it.
Above the cube is a sphere that also looks like a purple and red spectrogram, and the sound is inside. Ooh.
Yeah, she makes so many of these. I love the way she translated all the work. There's this one piece in here which is Braille base 64. So if you go down, where did I see? Yeah, there's these two cubes. I thought these were really beautiful.
Yeah, they're like intersecting each other. Oh, I did not realize that's Braille, but now it makes sense. Yeah, so they're animated, and we're scanning through all of this Braille. That's kind of all these different windows are moving around, and like mirroring through each other. And it also, yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like binary, and then there's this translucent purple sphere rotating through it.
I don't, is that your purple sphere? Actually, I don't know. I don't know what
Could well be.
but I think this, so this one definitely has a description. If you click on one of the boxes, or I can read the description from the 2D
There
gallery
we
here.
go.
There we go.
Oh, cute. Yeah, this has very powerful Sonia vibes.
I love it. I love how like she just documented all her thoughts.
Yeah, do you want to read some of the logs, or I guess these are already in the catalog. So if you the listener want to go check it out, this piece is called Braille Base 64 from AI Sample by Levesque.
Yeah. It was I just thought it was really beautiful that she decided to translate it into Braille, translate some of the AI audio into. Oh yeah, that's what that was. She asked me to send over some of the AI audio material that I used to make the work, and so I sent her some stems. And so this is a Braille translation of one of the AI generated audio.
That's really cool.
What would be cool is to have someone actually then who understands Braille to like read it, and then
Yeah, I
and
guess
then
you would have to print it out on Braille paper.
yeah, that would be really interesting. Maybe it's just like a bunch of nonsense. Um, so this little video on the bottom, that's a piece by Camila Roriz. And that was her translating. I think I gave her one of my, yeah, it was just like a photo of my face, and
Yeah, it looks like your avatar, and it's got some like bisexual lighting, and then a couple of different parts of it are like inflating outward and back again in like a breathing pattern, and it's sort of inscribed on the outside of a translucent sphere on a black background.
Yeah, I really love this piece so much. I just love working with artists, people who can take the weirdness of my work and help tell that story in their through their own lens. And this, like, I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel most of the time.
I love how like collaboration centered your work is. That this it's like it's not just a conversation with you and the AI, but it's like a conversation with you and other artists.
Yeah, I guess I mean there's one component of the way I work where it's so isolated, like, making the album, that part was very solo, like just me plugged away at home with my studio and writing and composing and producing. And and so I guess there's like some aspects of my work where I I know I have to work in isolation, but I really love collaborating with people, especially when they come from different disciplines or they just have like really interesting takes on stuff. And so yeah, I guess like their collaboration is like a really big part of keeping myself also inspired as well. Like if I can inspire other people and then they inspire me as well, then it's like a nice like a different definition of flow. Like that to me is flow, not just like, being tucked away behind my own four walls. And
Yeah, the myth of the like solo genius is severely outdated. I also want to describe this beautiful nosy flower above the video. It's red mostly with a bunch of like blue and some darker undertones. And there's some really nice like, brush stroke type things that they're very it's like I'm thinking of maybe tulips, the way that they have these like brush strokes between the colors. And the petals are all sort of pointing out in different directions.
yeah, and there's a nose, there's a really big nose, it's trying to look for lies. There's like a game that I wanted to create where it's about half truths,
Mm-hmm.
and the game is basically prompting people with different kinds of AI generated material, everything from visuals to text, and testing if humans can tell which is AI and which is human.
Like a
And
Turing
Nosy
test.
Flower. Yeah, Nosy Flower is like one of the characters. And it's very, very nosy. It likes to go and poke and try to find find all the answers, just as much as we're trying to find answers.
Hmm. It looks like we've seen almost everything. This little character, very intriguing to me. This is one of the most face-like faces I've seen. There's the face is like a blue sphere with big red lips, and then like ears or pigtails pointing like straight up, and they're kind of blobby. Black hair, blue skin. Ooh,
Yeah.
and the eyelashes are incredible.
Yeah, so I don't do character art regularly, but when I do, I love exploring just weird versions of humans. I guess because I often feel very strange being human myself. And so they're like little abstracted characters. And oftentimes they're not assigned to a specific gender. They have strange colored skin. Maybe they're not fully human. Yeah, I can't remember. I think there is a description for the head.
I'm like clipping through the head. Doesn't look like there's a description. Oh, and we have another Sonia piece beneath it, and I love that it seems to be synchronized to the music. It's mostly blue, and then the color kind of the these like wisps of vapor get more bright when like with each of the kind of transients of the music as like a drum hits or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sonia was so like her output level was so incredible. It was just like when she was working in the space every week, she'd be like, oh, I did this thing. Oh, I did this thing now, and I did this thing. So I'm really happy that we're having this session to highlight the amount of work she did. And she was one of the first people I collaborated with directly in New Art City because she was building some of her other pieces as well. So it was so
That's really
lovely to work with
special.
her. I haven't talked to her in a while, but yeah, it's it's been a really, really lovely journey.
I'm seeing more of her spectrogram spheres around here. Wire placeholder, etc. in red, and above that we have a spinning one with, oh, trying to get inside of it. There's a, like, it's not really a face, but it's definitely mirrored. I just see like lips above lips mirrored. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
remember that piece.
this is a great view. I'm kind of clipping through it and it's spinning around.
Wow.
And
This
so
is what I
like
love. Oh my God, this is what I love about New Art City. I love when you like just catch yourself in between the objects, and then you just get these like really strange visuals. I don't know what this is. Wait, I don't remember this. I don't remember putting this in there. Um, we whose lips are those also? Can you click on it? Are we able to see the
no, I
2D?
can't click on it. Ooh, I love
Oh,
being inside of it though.
wow. I seriously don't know what that is. I need to look at it. I'm gonna have to go and hunt for it, and if I can get into my space actually, because it's funny that I'm no longer mapped to the space. Maybe it's under a different login. Anyway,
I'm seeing Cibelle's IG filter.
oh,
It's the same spring shape that we saw earlier. Um,
yeah,
oh, and we have even the like instructions for how to use it, and it's like it's undulating along with, I guess, with the music. And I see
yeah,
you in a green t-shirt like washing through the background a little bit.
yeah. This is such a fun project we got to work on, and this was at the beginning when Cibelle was researching how to play with IG's interactive features. Because when did this come out? I don't remember. Maybe it was 2020. And so at the time, IG was just starting to integrate these new features that you could, upload audio and then do like manipulate the audio in interesting ways. So like I think, yeah, going up and down changes the pitch of the hi-hats.
I see, and you
Um
can like pinch to change the vocal sample, and you can like slide to change pitch, and you can like tap to glitch the object. That's really cool.
yeah, it was working with Cibele's just so amazing because they also love going really, really far deep into these rabbit holes and like try to push things in a new direction. And so I love the way they also integrated this like really interesting visual glitch also. And depending on which direction you have the camera, so you can either have the front facing camera or the back, and they give you different like visual effects to go with the sounds.
I love that. Ooh, I think this might be the last one over here. We have a very GAN-like GAN video, and it's got some like castle in the Alps qualities. There's these like iridescent gold and glass shapes, but you can see these like mountains in the background, and it's like shifting through itself the way the GANs do.
Yeah, this was also one of my earlier experiments where I was using sound as one of the aspects of working with text to image, VQ-GAN clip model. And I really wanted to see how you could manipulate latent space with audio. So this was using like two different models. One was lucid sonic dreams. That was like my first experiment, just to see how you could split frequencies and you could like decide the bass to make the visual pulse, and you could tell it like you could map high frequencies to move the image forward. So these kind of parameters were really fun to play with, and then taking one AI visual output and then creating another one and changing aspect ratio and stuff like that was really interesting. So yeah, this one was like, I don't remember the exact text prompt I used, but I think it was something like melting gold in Mongolia in hyperspace or something like that. And I decided to use Mongolia because I've never been there, and people always say that I look Mongolian, and it's been it's been a place of interest for me to visit one day. And I guess like, I mean, I've learned that so my background's Korean, and I'm aware that there was a huge population of Mongolians that moved to Korea. I don't know if all Koreans are Mongolian, but I just know one part of the story. There's such a huge part of my own human history that I don't know, but would love to learn more about like my human makeup.
Totally. I guess right on the left of this video cube, we have a rectangular image with the same dripping gold Mongolia scene, but overlaid on it are these rectangles in like neon green with AI generated. It looks like AI generated looking text, but it's slightly more legible than the text that AI usually generates.
So you're not wrong, actually. This is there's a beautiful project called Machine Learning Font. There's a website, and you could download this font to use for free. And I got to meet the designer of this project. They're based in Berlin, and their studio is called NAN, N-A-N. And this was such a yeah, this is such a beautiful project. And there's like two versions of the font that you can use. And when I found out about it, it just made perfect sense to add that style to bring the whole like visual story together.
I have to check this out. This is incredible.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like as you type each letter, the font like moves differently. It's really
Wow.
weird. So yeah, these are the words. Oh yeah, these are the words from the AI generated audio. And again, like something I did point out is that like this is my translation of the AI generated audio. Some of it is like so glitchy that they actually sometimes sound like words and sometimes not. So the words that don't sound like actual words but have some English reference, that tends to just leave my own mind up to try and make out what they mean. But like
Kind
certain
of
words
like
like
Cocteau Twins, but then you also have the like fill in the blank where it's kind of like illegible maybe.
yeah. Yeah, so it's I guess this was like my stab at trying to translate the nonsense.
I love that.
I mean, some words though, you can definitely hear it. It's like, oh, okay, it is saying back to.
Especially
Uh,
when you kind of put a picture in somebody's head by giving them words.
yeah. Oh, and that visual there, so that was the first experiment
Genesis
that
block. So we have this cube and it's a lot of different like AI birds, I think, kind of shifting through one another.
yeah, so this is that lucid sonic dreams notebook I mentioned that
Hmm.
allows you to upload audio and then map frequencies and then create a visual based on a pre-trained data set. So I picked what I think it was wildlife was
Yeah, so
the
I saw a bird and I saw a leopard. Um, there was like a penguin and an owl. But they're also like it's sort of picking up the backgrounds as well. Like it was going, now we shifted through like 4 or 5 birds sitting on branches, but before that there was like water, and now we're just in a sky. Um, and I love how it's like synchronized with the music.
Yeah, it's so weird how like you get these moments where between the things that look like birds, it just looks like some other weird creature. Uh, so this was the first experiment, and then I took this video and put that into text to image BQGAN clip model, which is how I made the gold video that we just saw.
I love to see like the lineage across all of the different pieces.
What's really interesting though is that like that wildlife video is a square format, and
Ah,
I was just curious what would happen if you took a square video and then asked the AI model to generate like I think I half the size of 1920 by 1080 just so the training would happen faster. But that's how I actually so that was a two-step process of how I got to the gold one. Um
ah.
yeah, so it just really interesting, right? How like they're very different results.
Yeah, I love the way like our little hacks end up kind of making unexpected things happen.
Yeah. Um,
Is there anything that I'm missing, do you think? I guess I haven't described these like green glass like scribble shapes, and I see each of them also has this really long, clear blue kind of mirror shape running through them. They're like really, really long ovals.
these are Sonia's, I think.
Oh, yeah, they
Um,
do have a Sonia-like quality to them. She has a very distinctive style.
yeah, these are Sonia's. I don't know. I don't think that she provided text for them, but I just love how expressive she is with her shapes and figures. And there's just like, there's so much expressivity. Like they're all distorted and contorted all strangely. And I just thought they fit the space so beautifully.
Totally.
If we go down, actually, there is one of the third, I think it's the third model of Ivy's cellular automaton series.
Oh yeah, there's another video down here. And we have, oh, are these those? Oh yeah. Oh, this one down here is supposed to be a
Yeah,
hand.
this is the giant hand. I just thought, oh, this is so, like with this series that Ivy created, I think the reason why I felt so drawn to them too is that like, I don't know, I have moments where I just feel super weird being human. So sometimes when I see art that represents the human body in a strange way, I find it satisfying because,
Yeah, it's like a hand covered in plaster or something.
but it's like, because it's overgrowth, right? And so it's
Right.
like, it's a hand, but like the model just continued to go further. And, and I don't know, I guess it's just like my own weirdness that feels in harmony with seeing like a weird representation of a human body part where it's just like, well, yeah, I often feel like I'm overgrowing in other ways, or, I don't know.
Yeah, overflowing the cup.
Or like body dysmorphia also, I guess, is like something that um I've experienced a lot throughout different parts. I mean, I'm not too worried so much about it over like the last few years, but like definitely during, I don't know, teenage years, I had major body dysmorphia. And I just found it really hard to feel in my body,
Hmm.
um, or just to like, I don't know, make sense of what does it actually mean, this meat suit that we wear. So yeah, I really appreciate these pieces.
Yeah, it's really resonant. I can identify with that a lot.
That video on top, I think that might be, is that I don't remember if this is a whole music video or not. Oh no, it's a short piece.
Ooh,
They do that by looking for
Nomi's
the
in
little
here
things,
also.
and it's possible
Yeah,
to
it's very
spot
like
subtle differences in their
spacescape, but we have
behavior
this
or their
undulating
reactions
landscape
that
where
imaging could never detect.
there's like a pulse that's like shooting across these like wavy rings that look kind of like a waveform, kind of like a
They do
landscape.
that by looking for
And in
the
the
little things, and
center,
it's possible
oh
to
yeah,
spot
so
subtle
there's
differences in their
the
behavior
like
or their
pixelated
reactions that
dripping
imaging could never detect.
Rania's face. It's like rotating around, and then there's, how would you describe this AI generated figure? It's
Okay, so
like translucent blue with some like diagrams on it also. It looks very, very sci-fi.
yeah, so that was I think this was one of my early experiments using text to image. And the text prompt was machines showing humans what makes them human by seeing what, wait, hold on, no. Machines showing humans what makes them human by seeing what makes them not like machines. Sorry, there's a typo there. That was my text prompt that generated this image. And then I took that same text prompt and put it into ChatGPT. And the audio that you hear back is what ChatGPT gave. And I just remember that was like one of my first goosebump moments of
Mhm.
using ChatGPT, because it's like, I don't remember the humans, machines showing. I also have it written here. They do that by looking for the little things, and it's possible to spot subtle differences in their behavior or their reactions that a machine could never detect. It's just so wild.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's like, because I guess this is also a question, or on the topic of AI being sentient, like I don't think AI will ever be sentient. If
You don't
you
understand
know,
what makes humans sentient. Like
well,
the whole idea
exactly.
is this like pernicious anthropocentrism that it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm very skeptical myself.
Yeah, because this is the thing, right? It's like, it's exactly like you said. And I always say, like, I don't know how many humans are aware of their own emotions and, like, just the awareness of self. Like, how many of us actually experience our day-to-day living in that heightened awareness of self, and, like, being aware of our emotions and whatnot. So how could we expect a machine to also do that? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's but the thing that I can imagine happening. So do you remember what was the name of the man who got fired from Google for claiming that AI was sentient? Blake, was it Blake?
I don't
Blakely?
remember his name. That was so funny. It's like I'm talking to the chatbot and I'm getting scared.
But um yeah, it's like the one aspect about humanity that's just like also weird is we're really good at defining and then redefining things, right? It's like the word villain, for example, original meaning was actually not what we um like transformed the meaning to be in, like, entertainment, like through movies and whatever. um but it's like, here, I'm just gonna Google the here's one description. The term villain first came into English from the Anglo-French and Old French vilain, which is further derived from the late Latin word villainous, which referred to those bound to the soil of the villa and worked on an equivalent of plantation in late antiquity in Italy or Gaul. A word that refers in part to a free common villager or village peasant lower in rank than a thing. So, like, this word transformed over history, but by nature the word didn't have any, like, links to someone being mischievous or acting out of, like, what society would deem as like bad behavior, or so it's interesting because I could imagine that like the word sentient and what that means could be redefined as people keep poking at like what it actually means to be sentient. So that could happen like 5-10 years from now. What we think or how we perceive the description of this word will probably change.
Yeah, it'll change with our consciousnesses.
Yeah. But currently, as we stand with I don't believe it's sentient, and I'm very highly skeptical that it ever will be. I think it has the opportunity to maybe like help humans be more sentient, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's just statistics. It's just spooky statistics.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what we're going through with how we engage with, say, ChatGPT as an example. When we read text back in these ways where it's like it really feels like we're speaking to a human, and it's like poking certain emotions out of us. It's also creating new emotions that we've never felt before, because we're experiencing or we're interacting with these technologies in ways that we hadn't done before, so all these like complex layers of new feelings are really interesting, because I think a lot of these new feelings we can't even articulate, what's happening.
Well, that's what artists are for.
Trying.
Okay, well, I am going to stop the recording now.